I don't know about you, but there's been a plethora of Joker videos, most saying the same exact thing or talking about how it defeated the media. Yeah, well, I don't want to make the same video 50% of the Joker fans are making. The Joker has a bigger meaning than you might realize, and honestly, it surprised me when researching into this, and I think you'll find it very interesting. Although I like this element, I wish they added in a bit of good side to contrast with the evil to give a good fighting chance and what the movie means morally. Maybe what I said was wrong. Good and evil is expected in a Batman story. Batman stories flip good and evil on its head constantly with very interesting perspectives and sometimes lessons. But the Joker film is not trying to be radical. It's not trying to be another battle of good and evil. The Joker is beyond all of that expectation. The opening shot of the movie, believe it or not, warns us what to expect. Everything must go. Am I stretching this? I don't think so at all. Todd Phillips is an experienced director and writer. One characteristic of good writing is that everything in a story will not go without purpose. My research has led me to a motivation that yes, this is intentional, but what exactly does this sign mean? Well, let's think about who is writing and directing this movie. Todd Phillips. Todd Bundy, or now Todd Phillips, was born on December 20th, 1970 to a Jewish family in Brooklyn, New York, and was raised on Long Island. He attended New York University Film School, but decided to drop out to finish his first film. Phillips' first documentary film, Hated, G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies, was made while he was a junior in school, and it was one of the highest grossing student films of all time. He made another documentary called Frat House with Andrew Gerland. His first real film was in 2004. He wrote and directed the 2004 film Starsky and Hutch, starring Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. Later, he made The School for Scoundrels. In 2005, he resigned himself as a director of Borat, but like his other creation, Borat also won awards. And in 2008, he started the Hangover series, which was, quote, my Star Wars, because he could basically sell out on it. He got over $50 million from this movie. Hangover 2 broke many records, including the highest grossing opening day for a live-action comedy, and the highest grossing opening day for an R-rated comedy film. In 2010, Phillips also directed, produced, and co-wrote the comedy Due Date, which starred Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. I don't fucking know how to say that. Later in 2016, Phillips directed, produced, and co-wrote the crime film War Dogs, starring Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. I don't know if you've noticed, but these are some of the most popular actors in the comedy genre films, and in films in general. Todd Phillips is a big deal, but why did he suddenly switch to comic book dramas? The same reason this movie has gotten unnecessary bad press and terrible takes by the media. Before the Joker release, Todd Phillips had an interview with Vanity Fair. You might have heard of it before. This is what Todd Phillips had to say. Go try to be funny nowadays with this woke culture, Phillips said. There were articles written about why comedies don't work anymore. I'll tell you why. Because all the fucking funny guys are like, fuck this shit, because I don't want to offend you. It's hard to argue with 30 million people on Twitter. You just can't do it, right? So you just go, I'm out. I'm out, and you know what? With all my comedies, I think what comedies in general have in common is that they're irreverent. Whether you agree with Todd or not, this is what caused the backlash, and it caused a snowball effect. I want you to make your opinion on Todd after I reveal everything I have to say. The words woke culture is the leading reason so many other sites jumped on this article more than it would have been otherwise. This movie might have been overlooked. We didn't see articles talking about how violent Deadpool was, did we? I'm not here to argue any side, but the word woke is a very interesting and popular word at the moment, especially in the United States. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially issues on racial and social justice. And Google's definition is alert to injustice in society, especially racism. The comedy scene, whether it be movies or stand-up, have been involved in this discussion of, quote, woke culture, and the same thing Todd says is what many comedians have said as well. Anyone remember when director of Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, was fired because of his jokes like 10 years ago on Twitter? That's usually how this stuff goes down. Fortunately for Guardians of the Galaxy fans, James Gunn is back at directing.
Welcome to Blackgate. We're gonna do a quick psychiatric evaluation. Bad day, huh? Cops in this city. Always beating on the sick and defenseless.
Tell me something, dear. Have you ever had a really bad day?
The sign is taken from innocent Arthur by the teenaged boys on the street, and at the end of the chase, everything is shattered into pieces when it is used to strike Arthur in the head. Everything must go means every stereotypical cliche you think you'll see, all expectations we generally get from society, mainly American society, must go. All of it must go. Because Joker will not give it to you.
The reason people are so afraid of the Joker movie has much less to do with the story in terms of the violence or the way that the Joker acts, but it has more to do that in the very structure of the storytelling, it breaks apart the political narratives that have been prevalent in America, and it smashes the Overton window to smithereens.
I'll present examples to illustrate this point, and as I said in the beginning, I am not siding with a certain side on what is good and what is bad about these situations, nor am I making the discussion open for political debate, definitely not. The point I am making with these examples is that they revert many expectations of the media and or the audience. The first one has to do with the nature of the movie. Usually society will classify a gun-wielding serial killer with a radical right-leaning threat, and that's exactly what the media did with this movie. Yet when you watch the movie, this is entirely flipped on its head. Arthur is originally a behaving member of society and is abused, but most notably Arthur is a poor, marginalized, and mentally ill member of society that in the end causes a revolt against the hierarchy, the rich. Wait, that's not very, quote, right-leaning. That's almost the opposite of right-leaning. That's anarchy. Joker in this movie allowed the poor, unrepresented people of Gotham City to rise up against their oppressors. Does that not sound familiar at all? A lot of people may have expected that Joker, just like the Dark Knight Joker, would be this supervillain who causes all harm, but it's further from the truth. Especially in the beginning, Arthur is beaten up by a bunch of kids, and when his boss is angry at him for letting this happen, Arthur replies with, "They were just kids." Meaning Arthur was not originally this revenge-seeking person. Arthur wants to bring joy to the world and tries desperately 24/7 like he does on the bus when he doesn't even have to. Arthur in the beginning is so kind-hearted. He says it himself when he imagined himself on the Murray Show in the beginning. Unfortunately, a point made by the movie is that when you are on the bottom, poor and mentally ill, you don't matter and you will be stepped on despite how good of a person you are. You wouldn't expect empathy from this movie. Arthur takes the gun from one of his co-workers in the beginning of the movie, and Arthur has never used a gun. He's almost scared of it. He's innocent. He is given the gun, and in our political state, this can be compared to where a mentally unstable person is given a gun and does something terrible with it. But Arthur doesn't do what you think. He kills what some people would say are guilty people, the wealthy white cis men on the subway. The men on the subway were about to sexually assault a woman. Does that sound familiar at all to you? Another cis white rich man would be Thomas Wayne, who is running for mayor. I wonder who that could be a metaphor for. Another twist turns this on its head because originally Thomas Wayne is expected to be seen as this cheater or woman exploiter when Arthur's mom reveals that Thomas Wayne is his father who abandoned him, but this turns out to be false. Another example is actually Arthur's mom, who is shown as this innocent woman in the beginning. Does an innocent woman sound familiar to you? I really hope it does. Also, does a only mother sound familiar to you? Yeah, I thought so. It's flipped on its head, and this innocent mother is not innocent at all, and is very guilty from the way that the film frames it. She lets Arthur's father abuse her, and most importantly abuse Arthur as a young child without doing anything about it. She even demonstrated in a flashback that she doesn't even feel the need to do anything about it. She wasn't even manipulated or anything, she was mentally ill just like Arthur is now, due to her actions. I said earlier that the comedy entertainment industry is seen by some people to be dangerous and offensive. It's funny how in this movie the comedy show Murray runs is said by him to be entirely family friendly. That's what real life criticizers want from the real life comedies, yet this quote better version of comedy is still seen making fun of and mocking a poor person of society, and Murray, who runs this family friendly show, is a rich asshole. Now that's not simple and perfect as the media would want it to be at all. On a side note, an interesting line Joker says is that, quote, just like the way society decides what funny comedy is, they also decide what right and wrong is. People have gone in expecting Joker to be an incel, yet he is not at all. He's a victim, and when he is faced with the fact that he has been imagining a relationship with this girl, he just walks away. There's no justice to be made to make sure Joker has a girlfriend in this movie. That's absolutely ridiculous. Let's also point out that he imagined going out with a black woman. Wait, I thought this was supposed to be a stereotypical cis, white, and racist male from American culture. If this film were, quote, radically right-winger as it was said by the media, sympathizing with the lack of humanitarian resources such as mental health funding, the dirty state of the city, and terrible quality of the Arkham hospital wouldn't really be a thing. Portraying it as a serious problem is a very liberal idea. A trope in movies is that the main character ends up always being someone important or valuable, due to the plot twist that their parents are a king or a queen or something, for instance. But that doesn't happen here. We are built up to believe Arthur is the lost son of the rich Wayne family, but he is not. Those are some of the big flips that the movie does, and they will trick you if you are ingrained with the stereotypes of our society, and a lot of us were fooled because we didn't listen to Arthur's sign at the beginning. The Joker in a way is more realistic than most movies because things don't happen exactly the way you expect it in real life. You don't actually believe situations and problems in your life will be solved like a generic movie. Problems are very complicated and not easily judged. In real life, you don't always know what's good and what's bad. In a generic superhero movie, you know exactly who is bad, the villain. How many times do these movies have to remind you that the main character is a good person? This movie never presents you with the dictation that this is good or this is bad. Joker and Murray arguing at the end of the Murray show, at the very end of the movie, is literally a metaphor of how you will feel when you judge the movie once you get out. You are most likely going to be conflicted. You decided for yourself what is good and what is bad, what is justified and what isn't. Maybe some people don't like this movie because it doesn't tell them exactly how to feel. It doesn't tell them what is good and bad. This is why you come out of the movie theater not knowing exactly how to think, but for most, they just like it somehow. And 3 weeks later, I am still thinking and realizing exactly why I like this movie. I've heard this is one of the greatest blockbusters of all time, and while you agree or disagree with it, it shows the impact of this movie.
I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not joking.
It's hard to take you seriously right now.
I'm dead ass serious. This is the third best blockbuster movie to ever come out.
Really?
After Ghostbusters and Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
I have to apologize because I left out a quote from Todd Phillips' interview. So I go, how do you do something irreverent, but fuck comedy? Oh, I know, let's take the comic book movie universe and turn it on its head. The sign isn't a stretch. Todd Phillips' entire goal was to demonstrate his frustrations with the state of American society, which is so divided right now. He flips everything on its head to tell everyone that life isn't as simple as right or left or good and evil. This movie cannot be classified as this or that because the movie isn't stereotypical. Kind of like you and me, everyday people are not the stereotypes that our society makes us out to be, whether it be derived from this or that political stance. We are not flat characters, we are complicated human beings, not described by our skin color or rank in society or whatever, but by our actions and personality, just like the characters of this movie. Todd Phillips' mission for this movie was exactly that. He tricked the media and the masses into trying to discuss and watched this movie, and it worked. Everyone subconsciously knows this is not a normal cliche movie, and many people consciously know it isn't. With all that in mind, with what Todd Phillips has created, you can now judge him for who he is, because just like this movie, just like us, you cannot judge a book by its cover. Todd Phillips succeeded in blurring the white and black lines, and while he created a great movie in general, I think he accidentally created one of the greatest comic book movies of all time.
I feel adrift, floating, like someone's pulled the stopper on my reality, and I'm sucked down the drain into something new. It's all very exciting, really. You wouldn't know what that feels like, I'm sure.
I might. Can you tell me more about how this person makes you feel?
It's like meeting someone I can actually relate to. Which, believe me, dear, I've never felt before.
And I realized what Todd Phillips' true mission is. Todd Phillips' mission was to give the audience a deep breath for a world that reveals the truth of our world, and that is unpredictability and problems. Many, many problems. This movie is a metaphor for our world. The pain, the suffering, grime and low conditions, marginalization and class, fighting and bickering, politics, our toxicity and politics. Why do I feel so inclined to say that this, of all things, reminds me of the streets of Gotham, where the Joker was born?
All units coordinated. What the... What the hell happened in there? Batman! What happened?
Hey guys, this is after I got done editing. This has taken a pretty long time. Even though it's shorter, it's probably taken longer because I've had to take multiple days. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for the last video. I've gained, I don't even know, it's like over 400 subscribers. I had 700, like 40 something subscribers before my last video, and now I'm at 1,100 something subscribers. The video is currently at, the last time I checked, it's at like 26,000. That's insane. My highest video viewed before this was like 15,000, and I thought that was insane, but this is crazy. This is gonna hit 30k, and I just can't even believe that. I can't fathom that. And I'm so appreciative of everybody who subscribed, all the nice comments. Y'all need to shut the hell up about me pronouncing Joaquin Phoenix wrong, okay? I can pronounce it right, alright? I wasn't even thinking about it because the pronunciation isn't important to the writing of that video, but y'all care extremely much. But nonetheless, I still love every single one of you. Even if you did comment that, I still love you all, and I really appreciate that. I hope I can keep this going, and the best thing you can do to help me is just share this stuff around, follow me on Twitch, do whatever you need to do, or just watch my videos, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video.